Well, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this. And I don't know if you can make out over the tent, there's a famous mountain. You can see the serrated outline of it against the dawn skies. And that mountain's got 3 peaks in it. And today's video, hopefully, will see us traversing over the 3 peaks, the first one being the sharp peak on the right. It looks like a bit like a shark fin or I don't know, Tyrannosaurus Rex's tooth. I need to get off this mountain and get round there because I'm meeting Jerry and the boys in about 3 hours time, so yeah, let's cut to me meeting them down at the car park. So I was in the Arrochar Alps and the hill we were doing today was the Cobbler, and we were hoping to do a traverse of the 3 peaks, the south peak, the centre peak and the north peak. And this schematic here shows our intended route. There's a picture of it in the winter, which is slightly different conditions to what we did it in today, as you will see, but it gives an outline of what we were hoping to do, and it's a proper mountaineering route where ropes and harnesses were required.
Erratic, yeah. Anarchist.
Right, I'm going to come around with it just in case.
Erratic.
This is poor. We're using a new camera, a different camera. So we're now here, and I was going to say you'll get a better view of the mountain and a more recognisable view of the mountain, but you can't actually see the mountain because it's covered in cloud.
Covered in sweat.
Yeah, covered in sweat.
Clouds coming off us.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you've got that silly hooded top on, but Jerry's done the right thing to make me feel better.
This is a 70s porn star, but I told you my porn name is ColeFill McAdam.
Is it?
A wee tarmac joke.
I thought it was the name of your pet and your mother's maiden name, which would make mine Cuddles Valentine.
Anyway, I've seen that film.
That's the other YouTube channel I've got, don't tell them about that. Anyway, right, we're heading to the Cobbler, aren't we?
We are, that's the plan.
We're making a film for Steaming Boots, not Cuddles Valentine.
Cuddle Valentine meets the Cobbler.
So behind us is the Cobbler, even though it's shrouded in clouds. I think we're undecided what we're going to do, but we're thinking possibly doing the 3 peaks, aren't we?
Aye, something like that. To traverse the Cobbler, or a route in the south and a route in the centre, and something else. We'll see.
Right. All the hilarity. People have turned off in disgust already. So.
Well, they may notice that it's actually sunny and extremely hot, and that's the first time in 2 months really since beginning of July.
It's been terrible, hasn't it?
It's been shocking.
Yeah.
And as a result, the first sunny day, we've done nothing but complain about the heat.
Typical Scottish thing to do, isn't it? Brilliant. Right, let's go. We'll report back later on. It was indeed very warm for the time of year, and we headed up the southeast ridge towards the imposing south peak of the Cobbler, and it was a bit atmospheric with the mist coming and going across it. And at this point we weren't entirely sure if we were going to do a harder route or take the direct line up it, but we stopped to have a wee look anyway. It was a fantastic place. So the guys are just checking out the routes over there. Let's take the backpacks off the snout, have a look and see. There are some routes on the sort of eastern side of the South Peak, and we did stop and have a look, but I think they were quite well vegetated, so we decided to just head round a little bit further and just head up the tradition. And at the top here there's an abseil or a down climb when you get there, so we roped up in anticipation for that. So up we headed, and on this part of the ascent up to the South Peak, there's nothing too difficult. I think it's graded as a moderate, and yeah, there's bits of rock which are nice when it's dry, but there's also a lot of vegetation here. As I said, we put the rope on because we were going to be using it anyway to ab off the top, so why not to stick it on. But yeah, after some short climbing we soon reached the top of the South Peak, which then gave us this magnificent view to the rest of the day's objectives. That's us on the top of the South Peak, it's behind us. So we're about to abseil off. Here you can see the central peak behind me. Then first peak's over there. So, yep. Let's go on with abseil.
From the south peak we abseiled off, and it's a short scramble and then climb to get to the true summit of the Cobbler on the central peak, and then it's just a walk round to the northern peak. But yeah, first was the abseil, and yeah, you can down climb this part, which I've done many moons ago, but yeah, it's quite exposed and it's not a place to fall, so taking the direct route and abseiling off saved a bit of time, and yeah, added a bit more mountaineering fun to the day. But it's certainly a steep way off the south peak, that's for sure. With all three of us now safely down off the south peak, it was a lovely wee walk on the walker's path, which takes you between the south peak and to the crux of the route, which is the wee ridge or arete up towards the central peak, which goes at difficult. So we got there and got set up with the ropes again, ready for a wee climb to the top.
Oh, I think if you just behind us, that's where we've been. That's the south peak. Just about there. And we abseiled down off that. And we're now, there's Jerry, we're at the base of the central peak, which is the one most people know where you thread the needle, but this is the southern arete, I suppose?
Yes, it's a continuation of the traverse of the peaks. So up the southeast arete on the south peak, yeah. Abseiled down the wee ordinary route, and then up this, yeah. And then down through the eye of the needle, and then across to the north peak.
Yeah, so we'll put you away again, back to 360 camera, and we'll report back when we're at the top. Right, see you well.
This was the crux of the route. It was a short, one pitch, difficult route which takes you up, and it was lovely. Just too short. It would have been nice if it went on a bit further, but yeah, Mark led up. The weather was fine, and as you can see from the clouds scudding by, the midges weren't an issue due to the wind. And when you get to the top of this, it levels off, and there's a wee arete with some boulders that you sort of boulder hop across before getting to the final pinnacle and the true summit of the Cobbler. And again, Mark led us up here as we headed towards the summit of the Cobbler. After some easy climbing, we were soon at the top of the Cobbler and facing the crowds of people. And once you're on the top, you then have to traverse back round and through the eye of the needle, which is the bit that most people will know. There's no real difficulties, but certainly not a place to slip and fall, and it's probably good to know that this rock, when it gets wet, is really slippery, so just be careful if you're coming up here to do this. Anyway, through the eye I went. Then it was just a case of collecting the rope as Mark, the final member of the party, made it through to the second of the three peaks.
There we go, right, so there's Jerry, there's Mark.
Hello. There's the midges.
There's the midges, and over behind Jerry is the final peak.
North Peak.
North Peak, that's the last one we've got to do. If I spin you around, I'll show you what we've done. It's into the sun, so it's a bit... Right, there's the south peak there, which we abbed off, and then we came up the skyline there. Up, I don't know if you can quite make out the... Oh, you can out the window. And that's the central peak which we came down, which is quite a nice viewpoint of the route. But anyway, the last peak, I think, Jerry, is quite easy, isn't it, in comparison?
Well, it
Doing the way we're
depends.
doing it.
It depends what you do. I mean, you can walk onto the last peak. Normally, if you're doing a traverse, you do one of the routes on the North Peak. But the routes that we wanted to do now have queues on them.
Right, we'll report back once we get to the top of the North Peak, or maybe we won't because there's about 1 million folk up there, but yeah. Last peak to complete the traverse. Let's do it.
So onwards we went through the crowds of people. It must be one of the busiest mountains in Scotland, the Cobbler. I don't think I've been up it very often when there's not been lots of other people, and understandably so, it's a magnificent mountain. Anyway, we were soon reaching the third and final peak.
We are at the top of the final peak, which is the North Peak.
Peak.
Sorry, Mark. I'm moving around so the camera's at your back. So, yeah, you can see the peaks that we've been over behind Jerry, I think. Kind of over there. We're going to head back down now, I think. It's been good, hasn't it? Been a nice wee.
Lovely.
Here we go, what you all in there. Yeah, nice wee traverse, and it's a busy place, this, isn't it?
It is
It's got to
very
be
busy.
one of the busiest peaks.
That's the top of Talreda.
We're
Yeah.
about turn round, folk just on top of a climb. You can see down there. It's
The final wall of Punster's there.
so, yeah. We'll report back later on. That's us done with 3 peaks, 3 peak challenge.
3 peaks done.
Right, we'll come back later.
Very good.
So after doing the traverse, it was just the journey back down the never-ending path which zigzags forever and ever. But what a fantastic day it had been. We had a really good weather for the time of year, and I've always wanted to do this route, so that's it done. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next adventure.